Okay, everybody. Thank you once again for attending this week's edition of the Media Buyer webinar. My name is Brian, and this is the webinar where we talk about what trends, anomalies, or interesting insights we can uncover from our Northbeam data. If this is your first time here, I'm going to hammer through the data pretty quick. Go back and read our newsletter email for more detailed insights. Jump in the chat at any time and ask me questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. And we're just going to talk about the high-level trends, summarizing things we talked about yesterday and leaving opportunities to chat about what you might want to talk about, which for me is a huge Memorial Day ads hangover that we are all dealing with, right? So how much do I bench? 315 for 3, I think is my highest. So I've made it to the 315 club. Anyway, questions about media buying anytime. So with me today, I have the social Savannah, who I'll give a proper intro to later. Some of you may know her. How about this? If you don't know her, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're. I'll get into this, but I can pick Savannah's TikTok ads out of a lineup. They are by far the most influential. You Savannah have by far the most influential TikTok creative strategy that I have seen ever. Every ad that I see on TikTok now, I feel like is influenced by the things that you have been consistently putting on your Twitter, in your training sessions. Like, you should feel extremely accomplished. Huge fan, huge fan. Thank you for being here, Savannah.
So happy to be here.
All right, let's get right into it. So, if y'all remember last week, it was like, 40% discount time, and everybody was running Memorial Day discounts. Everybody's, conversion rate was through the roof. Customer acquisition costs were at an all-time low. Of course, with that, AOV was also low. ROAS was through the roof. It was just prime buying time for a number of brands. That Memorial Day is the perfect fit for them. It's kind of like the unofficial kickoff to summer for me, because it's like the first big long weekend where people have off, where you go and you dig in your closet and you break out the lawn chair, the beer koozies, the cornhole table from last year, and realize that it's broken, or that you need a new one, or that you lost your sunscreen between here and last summer, right? So people are going and they're re-upping and buying things. Last week is the recovery from that. This to me is a regression to the mean, and that's the way we should see it. If anybody is out there like catastrophizing, like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? Our ad performance is so low this week. Like, realistically, the biggest impacts, there's just like the two big pillars that influence whether or not your creative is going to work. It's your creative, and it's like on a macro trend, the time of year that's like happening, right? Not to mention the thing that you're selling or any of that, right? So what we see here, and what I'm seeing here, especially with all the reds across the conversion metrics that you might be experiencing as well, regardless of what you're selling, is a regression to the mean. There's always kind of a like hangover whenever you come out of a holiday period, and your recovery time from that holiday period can be variable depending on what you're selling, depending on what you're doing. For me, the recovery time is a great time to think about, okay, did that campaign actually work for us, right? Financially, did the math work out? Was it worth it to run a discount? Was it worth it to up the CPMs? Did you not compete during that time? Did you try and jump in there when things were really expensive? A 4.5% drop in CPMs in Meta is like anything over 2, when you're looking at Meta on here, is like a huge deal. Like, because so much of it's so much of the money in here. Like, if you're seeing 7 to 15% swings on our TikTok ads, sure, it's a much smaller sample, it's a much smaller amount of money. But to see a 4.5% drop in CPMs and a 4.6 drop in conversion rate, like week over week, is like pretty intense. So I'm sure that you all are coming through this time. Here's a cool idea. Maybe not immediately right after you've run your campaign, but like in this time where now, buyer, you've got all of your cheap buyers, the people who are kind of waiting for a discount, you've got them out of the way. This is a great time up into your next big tentpole holiday to practice working on your creative and testing your creative in what is probably the most brutal conditions that you could for your brand. You need to be kind in that way and understand like, oh yeah, okay, we're kind of regressing back to the mean. If you can find creative that works in this time and is converting high quality customers, you can pretty much guarantee, I'm willing to bet that that creative will fly for you once you get into, real seasonal periods that are relevant to your brand. So bottom line up front, drink some water, put some sunglasses on, just get through this hangover. Focus on your week on week going forward. Try and get back to that mean. You should have a meeting. You should know what your sort of like normal performance is. You're trying to get back up to that. So what does that take, right? Looking at budgets by platform, not major switches here. I think that there was probably a lot of people dumping ads on TikTok just for the short term through Memorial Day. That was probably what I was suspecting, which is why there was such a big drop off. It's still like a huge part of the budget share. People are still converting there. I'm not worried about it. This to me doesn't change very much, right? Google category, interesting. Shopping remains above 10%, which I'm so happy to see. We know that Google's trying to make shopping its big thing on Google. Just today I was noticing like new trending searches functionality going on in Google and stuff like that. Everybody's like trying new things, fiddling around. All the ad platforms are to try and get a little bit of your budget. So this is not a surprise to me, right? Looking at industry, I'm glad to see that so many brands did so well last week. If you remember, last week was just a sea of green arrows, which was fantastic, right? This week, we're kind of like dropping back into reality, with the exception of baby stuff, which everybody's realizing like, oh, wait, I need like a kiddie pool, right? Like summertime's rolling around. But following baby now for, I think, what's this 20 issues? And baby is the one that is so connected to like seasonality. And if you sell baby stuff, you obviously know that, right? I got to mention this because somebody said something about this to me. When you're looking at this, I would really try and stick to an understanding of the verticals that you know and that you are familiar with. So I wouldn't look at health and wellness and try and extrapolate like, oh, like maybe this is happening, right? And how that relates to your work. This is for all the people in those verticals, like combined here in one place so that everybody can see them. It's difficult to look at home goods and be like, oh man, like home goods is so far down. Like that's adjacent to us. Like I wonder what they're doing, right? I wonder what's happening over there. I am always a huge fan, and you'll hear me say this over and over on this webinar, and you'll hear our data people in data reviews say it as well, like our strategists, is that you really need to focus on your own data and your own performance and what your industry is experiencing. A lot of people like to copy. They like to go out and see what their competition is doing. I had a line in the newsletter yesterday, just because some people are running something doesn't necessarily mean that it's working. So before you go out and you copy, I would focus on your own data, focus on making sure it's very clean and actionable and useful, and that you build a base that you can experiment and iterate on. And that comes from good fundamentals, which is what Savannah and I are going to talk about soon. So barring any last minute questions about performance, I know that I still owe you month over month. I'm getting there. I had jury duty last week. It was not exciting, but I am going to get you month over month data. I know people are asking for it. So we will get there. But before that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Savannah. So I was talking a little bit about this in the beginning. We have Savannah Sanchez. She's from the Social Savannah. She's a TikTok media buying and ad creative expert. She is phenomenal. I would argue, Savannah, that you're probably the most influential ad creator and strategist in the TikTok fashion, health, wellness, skincare verticals, like easily. I can see an ad and be like, that someone's in her program, right? And not in a like bad way, in a like, thank you for making something that like actually looks good on my feed kind of way, which I see a lot of TikTok ads where it feels kind of like a bait and switch. And your ads are like a breath of fresh air where they're really truly like, oh, I understand what this is. I see the vision. I see how it helps us. And I've brought Savannah on today to talk a little bit about, the trends that she's seeing right now in Q2, to introduce her to all of you as well, if people don't know her, to talk a little bit about the ad creative that's working and just some like high level strategy. I know that they're threatening a TikTok ban and all that, but like, if you've heard me before, and at the conferences a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I can't tell whether or not they're actually going to ban it. So in the meantime, we have people who are succeeding in TikTok strategy. They're winning. They're doing a great job. And we know a lot of people who work with Savannah and just really win. So we're going to jump into some rapid fire questions here and get a little actionable strategy for all of you who are still hanging out today. So Savannah, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's my first time joining this webinar, and I just have to say, I need to join every week. Like, the data you're sharing is so helpful. Even for my clients that I work with that run ads on TikTok, we saw a huge CPM increase leading up to Memorial Day, and just now seeing things normalize, and to have that validated from your huge data set of advertisers is so cool to see. So I just wish I knew about this sooner.
Well, I'm glad that we're introing you by bringing you on. So I also have to say, like, it's just me putting this stuff together. There's a lot more that we're going to do in the future, and it's going to get really exciting. I'm going to do brand new visuals. Like, it's going to be really nice. So everybody that we have here, most people are media buyers in this webinar. They are some of them are business owners. Some of them come from Google search background, or mostly Facebook only, right? And TikTok has long been this like enigma that they've tried to crack. Some of them, I would argue, like, people who know they want to be on TikTok know that their audience is there. Some people should be, some people shouldn't, right? But I want to talk about, for the people who are here, just giving a sense of kind of how you think about this and the kind of ads that you make and what you like. What's your favorite type of TikTok creative that either you or your clients are making right now?
There's one in particular that's crushing across the board. I wonder how long it's going to keep performing for, but it's been really strong over the last month. It's called a negative hook. So essentially, we're saying 3 reasons you shouldn't buy X. And then we say, oh, it's too affordable. It's going to make your life too easy. It's brought me so much joy. Like, I just wish I knew about this sooner. So it's kind of hooking someone with the negative of like, I shouldn't have bought this, but then you say like all the good things about it. And then you say like, you definitely shouldn't go to butcherbox.com and check it out. So it's kind of like a reverse psychology. And I've seen a lot of brands do this now on my feed. And we've been producing some even in recent weeks, and they're still some of the top performers. So I'm going to keep doing these negative hooks till they die out. But right now it's a huge trend that I'm telling all the brands I work with that we need to try.
You mentioned, hooks like dying out, right? Which is something that I've heard you talk about a lot, and other people kind of use the same perennial hooks that have lasted forever, and are using them on Facebook or whatever, or like people using Harmon Brothers hooks from like 2015. Love those guys, but like, you know what I mean? Can you talk a little bit about like hooks dying out or becoming popular, and like how are you seeing that or tracking that or ideating that?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about brands and media buyers. We love copying each other. We see cool ads on TikTok. We see people talk about cool ads on Twitter, or go to top ads library. And then you see like 100 other brands like hop on the hook trend. So I think it's all about, first of all, I think it is great to get inspiration from other brands. And that's what I do. I love going through like the Facebook ads library or the TikTok top ads library to get inspiration of what other hooks are working for top brands. So I always recommend to do that. And then maybe just try to take your own spin on it. One thing I saw over the weekend that I really liked, it was a hook from a brand called Thrive Cosmetics. And the hook was, I told all my mom's friends to buy this, and it was makeup. So instead of something generic, like I wish, like, I told all my family to buy this, but they made it really specific. Like, I told all my mom's friends to buy this. And then they go into why the eyeshadow is so great for women over 40. So things like that really catch my eye, and thinking of new ways to frame it. But I would say the hook is definitely the most important part of the ad. So being creative and continuing to iterate off of hooks that you're seeing work in your own account is really a good strategy.
I am willing to bet. So Thrive, shout out Northbeam customer.
Woo!
I am willing to bet that hook came from like a review comment on their site, being like, I loved this so much. My mom loved it. I told all of her friends to buy it. And that's a great segue into kind of the next thing that I wanted to ask. I know we have a list of questions we're working off, but I'm just like riffing here. Um, I think really good TikTok ad creative has to come from like a really strong understanding of your audience and your customer, right? Like, how do you recommend to your brands ways of finding those hooks, digging them up, being creative? Like, how do you advise people to do that?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, going through customer reviews is a gold mine for hook ideas. I think always thinking about something that's going to catch your eye, something that's a bit unexpected, like the 3 reasons why you shouldn't buy X, or why I regret not buying this sooner. Like starting with that regret emotion is really helpful. I understand the hype after I tried X. So I think almost starting as a skeptic is usually a great way to go for a hook. Like I saw this makeup all over TikTok and I didn't know if it was legit or not. So I decided to buy it and test it out. And oh my gosh, it was actually amazing. It was totally worth the hype. So just coming from the perspective of a customer, because as a customer who's going through hundreds of Facebook and Instagram ads a day, or TikTok ads, there's always that element of skepticism. Like, is this some crappy drop shipping product? Am I even going to receive the product? Is this all false claims? So starting from the perspective of the customer who is inherently coming in as a skeptic, they don't know your brand or if you're a scam or not, and showing that authentic journey of, hey, I didn't know if this was legit. I've seen all these ads, but is this actually real? I decided to test it out. I'll be the test dummy for you. And here's my authentic reaction or opinions on it. So that's always a storyline that I'll test time and time again for clients.
I love it. And I think you touched on authenticity as like the key thing. And it has surprised me more than so many other platforms how authenticity is truly the thing that like not just in the language that you use, but in the visual appearance of the content. Authentic, real content works so well on TikTok.
Totally. And
It's
that's why I think if you're doing it, if you're making your TikTok ads two-staged, like filming it in a studio, fancy effects, animations flying in, people are thinking, oh, this is an ad. You really want to meet people where they're at and make things look just like TikTok. So using organic TikTok effects, organic text, fonts, and not making it look too polished. I would say that's the biggest difference between meta ads and TikTok ads. Meta ads are typically more polished. It's fine to make more studio shots, make it a bit more of an ad. And that tends to work well. Where TikTok, where I'm really leaning into, is really authentic, almost raw, but still following the principles of like hook, problem, solution, but just doing it in a more raw TikTok style than you would on Meta.
it's like and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I see a lot of people who think, oh, make it not look like an ad. And they interpret that as I want to trick people into watching this. And for me, it's like, oh, no, no, no. Like people are going to realize it's an ad. They will, but you've stopped them, you've hooked them, and they want to continue watching. Is that like an incorrect interpretation of that? It's not like they never realize it's an ad.
For sure. I think that's a really great way to put it. All of our ads still start with like the hook, problem, solution. So it's very much like an ad. I think sometimes people take it too far on TikTok ads where they try to make it not look like an ad and they'll do like some trending dance or something where there's not even a clear call to action to buy. They're trying to make it look super organic, which is great for organic TikTok. And that's why I think what you're posting to your organic TikTok feed as your brand shouldn't be hook, problem, solution necessarily. It should be maybe something more trend focused, not even have a CTA, just casually using your product or behind the scenes. But for an ad, it still is important to follow, like I would say, like the ad formulas of clear problem, solution, CTA. So I think people do take the don't make it look like an ad on TikTok maybe a little too far, and then they end up with like TikTok dances with their product. And I'm just like, no, this is not the right thing for TikTok ads. It still needs to be an ad.
This is Listen, we're coming up with time. I feel like we could talk about this stuff forever. Can you talk a little bit about, for people who don't know, the sort of trainings you have, the agency work that you do, and how to contact you.
Yeah, of course. So I work with a lot of the top brands on TikTok and Meta to create ad creatives for them each week. I have a team of creators, editors that I work with that create really great ads. And you can view all of my ads on my website, which is thesocialsavannah.com. So definitely check out my ad examples there to get inspiration for hooks for your ads, or if you want to contact me directly on there to work together. I also have my TikTok ads course on my website where I go through my media buying and ad creative tips for TikTok. So you can also find that on my website, as well as a UGC ad creative course. Both are on thesocialsavannah.com.
And I mean, I cannot recommend it enough. So Savannah, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been like, in just a short amount of time, I feel like we covered such big, important, fundamental things about TikTok. And I'm so happy about that. So thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. Like I said, I'll be back as a viewer. This is so cool. I think every media buyer from an agency or on the brand side has to be here. Like I wish I knew about this sooner, truly. So I'm excited to join future ones as a viewer as well.
I crazy appreciate it. It's a ton of work to put this together, but I love it. All right, everybody. This is the deal. This recording is going to be on YouTube very, very soon, right after this. Subscribe to our newsletter. I will see you all here next week. Wait, no, Juneteenth next week, I believe. So I think we're off a week, but there will be a newsletter, and then we're back with the webinar of the week following. I'm pretty sure. We'll follow up in the email and make sure that everybody knows. Otherwise, thank you all so much for being here. Savannah, thanks again for being on, and we'll see you all very soon.